After the most recent episode of Hell of a Boss, where we got to dive into Stolas' childhood, we now know more about the Ars Goetia than ever, so I thought today we could talk about what the actual duties of these demons are in the hierarchy, particularly Stolas, and how him struggling with his job may add fuel to the fire that is his scandals with Blitz. My name is Deepcut. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it when we talk more about Hell of a Boss theories like this one, because this is just part 2 in a deep dive that I'm working on about the Ars Goetia. Now in my previous video, which you can see with the link in the pinned comment down below, I talked at length about the hierarchy of the Ars Goetia as well as its real life history, but what you need to know for this video is that the Ars Goetia are a secondary form of nobility that exists in Hell. The first of course are the 7 princes of Hell, with Lucifer at the top ruling as the king. The royal titles of the 7 princes are more territorial, giving each prince their own ring of hell to rule over. This was inspired by the Peter Binsfield classification of demons from the 1400s, which listed 7 demons as princes based on the 7 deadly sins. The Ars Goetia, on the other hand, seem to rule over hell beneath the 7 princes, with there even being some overlap among their ranks. Asmodeus, for instance, is the prince of the Lust Ring, but also a king in the Ars Goetia. As of now, that is the only confirmed overlap between the two. However, one of the kings of the Ars Goetia is the demon Baal, the same rank, of course, as Stolas' father, King Paimon. Baal dates back to the Old Testament itself, where he is depicted as a false god in the Levant. Fans of Hell of a Boss are likely also aware of Beelzebub, known in the Peter Binsfield classification to be the prince of the Gluttony Ring, though Moxie refers to him as a she, so she may be a princess. Regardless, depictions of Beelzebub are actually derived from Baal, making them the same entity in some demonologies, though distinct from each other in others who are unaware of their original connections. While they may be different demons in the show, it is possible that, like Asmodeus, Beelzebub is a prince of a ring, but also a king in the Ars Goetia. In the Ars Goetia, there are 72 demons of rank, from kings and dukes down to knights and presidents. Despite the title of king, they seem to be of lower status than the Prince of the 7 Rings, with Asmodeus being more famous as a prince of lust than as a king of the Ars Goetia. The confirmed Goetic kings of the show, Paimon and Asmodeus, seem to have a particular interest in Earth. While Asmodeus is happy to rule over his clubs and lust, even stars like Veraska and her succubus posse are sent up to Earth in order to entice humans and spread STDs, according to a joke from Blitz. This is so common that Asmodeus has created Asmodean crystals specifically to give his succubus easy access up to Earth, whereas Blitz had to steal an elite's grimoire to start his business. Paimon, likewise, is really focused on the prophecies in the stars surrounding Earth and utilizing the Earth for their own benefit. Back in the pilot, Stolas even talks about how he wants Blitz to assassinate someone that is trying to convince people that global warming exists. This would lead to less awareness about global warming, less being done about it, a harsher climate, more reasons to turn to vice and sin as resources become more scarce, and the eventual more souls in hell after they die because of it. Paimon is said to be the most loyal of the Goetic kings to Lucifer in particular, who himself is very interested in owning and corrupting God's creation. Some other deadly princes such as Satan may have interest in Earth as well, probably influencing wars on Earth, but others like Mammon seem more interested in exploiting the local residents of Hell for their own sinful gain, who seems to just want to make as much money as possible regardless of how it negatively impacts imps and other natives. Even down in the Sloth Ring, we have Belphegor, who according to legend actually rebelled because he simply did not want to work, so I doubt he'd be interested in working hard to conquer the Earth. Instead, it seems that this is largely driven by Lucifer and those who follow him, which seems to include the Goetic demons. Because of this, I think the primary goal of the kings is to rule over Earth itself, with some of the princes of the rings involved in the takeover having dual territories on Earth and in Hell after its completion. The Goetic demons may not just serve Lucifer, however, and don't seem to only serve to conquer Earth, but instead do get involved with the local happenings of Hell as well, as evidenced by Stolas doing rituals to curse the crops at the Harvest Moon Festival. But all of this seems to be done to maintain the population before creating Hell on Earth as part of their eventual endgame. Stolas had to start his job pretty early on and study a lot about Earth leading up to it. His primary focus, according to Paimon, was learning about the stars and their prophecies. With the grimoire, he has access to the human realm, but only seems to need it once a month for a full moon ritual he does. We also know that once a year he needs it for the aforementioned Harvest Moon Festival, and I presume there are a few other events in the year that happened off-screen that he would need it for, or perhaps other events that happen only here and there or once in a few years. Stolas' job is to study the stars surrounding the Earth and to uncover the prophecies there. When not doing his rituals, I imagine a large amount of his time was spent just studying the constellations and writing down what they could mean. This reflects the real-life practice of ancient cultures trying to use the stars to decode the mysteries of life and the universe. In fact, in the real-life Ars Goetia, Stolas is described as a demon you summon to help learn more about the stars and what they mean for the future of our world. The Ars Goetia want to uncover these prophecies, likely to see if they will be successful in taking over the world and eventually defeating heaven in the battles of apocalyptic myth and legend. In the most recent episode, we see Stolas open his grimoire one morning, some constellations bubble out, and he puts it back away, giving up almost immediately. He doesn't look confused per se, but just not seemingly making any more progress than he has in a long time. According to his song in episode 2, he seemed pretty confident in his star-based predictions, but was caught off guard by one event that seemed to be timed with the birth of his daughter Octavia. He describes it as an eclipse-like event, the sun going black, but in the background we see a star not being eclipsed, but dying entirely after the planets are absorbed into it. Regardless of what the event was, it was an astronomical event Stolas did not see coming, and one that coincided with the birth of his daughter, who has eyes that shine like a star, which Stolas describes as her stealing from the star when it went black. From here, Stolas seems to have only become more confused. In the song, he alludes to perhaps the end of hell and even all of creation, but somehow Octavia being safe from it all, even if Stolas himself is not. I've theorized quite a bit in the past that I would not be surprised if this apocalyptic event actually requires Stolas to give his life, but it would maintain that Octavia is okay, and in the end, that is what matters most to Stolas. That being said, it isn't good information to bring back to the kings of the Ars Goetia, or anyone for that matter. All he knows is that his daughter will be safe, even if creation ends, but that hell may collapse entirely in the final battles. Without even having any specifics on this, it would only frustrate the Ars Goetia more and make them hate Stolas for not having answers on how to at least fix it. Instead, I think Stolas has been underreporting since Octavia was born, still frustrating his father and the higher-ups, but not as much as revealing that hell may be doomed to fail and taking over the Earth with no solid way to get out of it. For 18 years then, Stolas would have been digging himself into a deeper and deeper hole, failing at his duties while perhaps other Goetic demons thrive. Stolas is a prince, so is pretty high ranking, but he is not the only one written about in the Lesser Key of Solomon who studies astronomy. Stella's brother Andrielphus does this as well, though he is only a marquis, which is of lower rank than a prince like Stolas. He likely studies other aspects of the stars and their prophecies, but none as important as Stolas is. While Stolas is lagging behind, Andrielphus may see it as a way to get a promotion by taking Stolas' job, but with Octavia being the cautionary heir to Stolas' position, that could get dark really quick. To find out more about that though, you'll have to come back for tomorrow's video where I talk about whether or not Andrielphus would betray Stella. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it, and I'll see you guys next time.